Deputy Paul Murphy.
Thanks, Cahirlock. I welcome this motion. It's truly scandalous that the government will reject it. And I want to in particular highlight an issue which underlines the need for what the motion calls for, an anti-corruption agency with a monitoring and investigative role over public procurement activities. Because public procurement is a key area where the space exists for public representatives or for others to interfere with public processes for the private benefit of themselves, of other private individuals, or of big or small business. There is an ongoing and unresolved controversy that has been highlighted by myself in Freedom of Information requests, in parliamentary questions, and by work in the Sunday Times by Justine McCarthy. It relates to the very serious irregularities that have been exposed in the tendering process for telecare equipment in the Senior Alert Scheme. I was first contacted in relation to this a number of months ago by a not-for-profit company who had been involved in the tendering process. They raised serious concerns in relation to the process and in particular the role that was played by Minister Kelly. The more information that has been uncovered both by myself and the Sunday Times, the more it is clear that very serious irregularities occurred and that there are very serious questions to be answered by Minister Kelly in particular, and that those questions still, months after we started digging, remain unanswered. At the heart of these irregularities is a meeting that took place on the 10th of December last year between Minister Kelly, an official from the department, Labour TD Brendan Ryan, and two members of the representatives of the company, Task Limited, that was to go on to be the most successful bidder. The meeting happened just days after the deadline for tenders had ended, and while Pobl, an agency under the Minister's department, were assessing the tenders. The CEO of that company is suggested to be a supporter of Deputy Ryan. The existence of such a meeting alone, the fact that it occurred, would appear to be a clear breach of the procurement rules. The relevant tender rules in section 6.7 clearly stated that canvassing shall disqualify. Yet the company that does appear at least to have attempted to canvass went on to become the most successful bidder. There are other serious questions that remain to be answered. Inexplicably, there were apparently no minutes taken of that meeting. I asked a question of the Minister a few days ago inquiring why there were no minutes taken, and received an answer in the name of Minister Phelan, which accepted the meeting took place and said the meeting was of brief duration, in respect of which minutes were not considered necessary. Yet the answer in the Minister did not reveal to me what was subsequently revealed in an FOI to the Sunday Times, that 2 days after the meeting took place, Pobl, the agency responsible, sent an email to the department that stated that, and I quote, "the process as a whole is now void and redundant," and the process was abruptly stopped. The process was then later restarted. Why didn't we receive that answer in the question that we put? Was it an attempt to cover that up? The department says that Minister Kelly had no idea that representatives of the company will be present at the meeting. That begs two questions. On the one hand, why did the meeting take place in the form that it did if it was simply going to be a meeting between two party colleagues? Why have a department official there? Why have it in such a formal way? On the other hand, what on earth was Deputy Ryan doing, bringing company representatives involved in an ongoing tendering process to a meeting to meet a minister unannounced? The notion that it was a meeting for which minutes were not considered necessary and where effectively nothing happened doesn't tally with document 4 that we received through the FOI, which is an information note written further to the meeting on Wednesday the 10th of December, and which clearly states that following the meeting with Task, the Minister raised a number of issues, in particular the division of the market into 10 lots, a minimum standard for any equipment supplied, and consultation with suppliers. So how come you have a meeting where nothing happens apparently, no minutes need to be taken, and yet the Minister feels prompted to raise those very particular points that relate to the tendering process? Pobl has said that the legal advice that they got afterwards suggested that the procurement process had not been affected and then they were able to restart it. On what basis was that advice given? I.e., what version of the meeting whereby the Task representatives attended?
Thank you, Deputy.
Surely this legal advice should now be published. There are very serious questions here for the Government and for the Minister. On what basis was the meeting organised on the 10th of December if Minister Kelly did not know that they would that they would attend? Why were no minutes taken? Why did Pobl decide to suspend the process? What was the legal advice upon which they based that decision and the decision to restart the process?
I now call on Deputy Seamus Healy.